Okay, here's a story for anyone that might think that the commandments the Jewish people do are just empty rituals. Listen to this. Napoleon. Napoleon was an awesome leader and general and visionary. And he inspired all of the French people to make a war against the whole world. And his idea was that with just the ideals of liberty and fraternity and equality, is that he was going to free the whole world and free all mankind from the bonds and shackles of ignorance and bigotry and servitude to the government. Everyone was going to be free, everyone was going to be equal, and everyone was going to be friends. And he won battle after battle, defeated huge armies. He was the hero, respected and feared by everybody, to the degree that even when he lost later on, you'll see he lost, as the enemy, they didn't want to kill him. They put him into exile. They were afraid. They honored him. They respected him. See, who knows how many people he killed and how many people he destroyed. Anyway, so all of the Jews wanted Napoleon to win. The Jews wanted Napoleon to win. He was really good for the Jews. Napoleon even wanted to make the state of Israel. He wanted to build a state of Israel. He had this idea that he would bring all the Jews back to Israel. He would be like the high power, whatever it is, but the Jews would have their own country. They could. It wouldn't be a religious country, but if you wanted to be religious, you could be religious. Anyway, so all the religious Jews and the Hasidic Jews were all in favor of Napoleon. All of them. They're all in favor of Napoleon. Even as far as I know, the best friends of the first Rebbe of Chabad, they were all in favor of Napoleon because the situation of the Jews was terrible under the Tsar and under the church. And Napoleon wanted to put an end to all that stuff under the kings. And he was going to put an end to it. All the Jews would be equal. They would be free. He would take them out of the ghettos. And so the Jews, and the religious Jews also, they said, we're going to be free. We won't be oppressed anymore. And the first Rebbe of Chabad said that if Napoleon wins, it'll elevate the glory of the Jewish people. Yorem Keren Am Yisrael. But it'll be a catastrophe spiritually. And the Jewish women were already starting to intermarry with the French. French was like the forerunner of intermarriage over in France. Okay, so all of the other rabbis were all praying to God for Napoleon to win. And Napoleon was winning. He attacked Russia and he was all. So the first raid, they all knew that it all depended on sounding the shofar. Rosh Hashanah. Whoever sounded the shofar first would get his way. So Napoleon had a huge army with 100,000 men, 200,000 men, huge, massive army had amassed. And they were winning. They were succeeding. And they had this, an infallible leader. Napoleon just told everybody what to do. And he was winning right and left. So they all sounded, they came Rosh Hashanah, and all the rabbis knew, they weren't all in the same place, but they knew that they had to do whatever they could to sound the shofar first, because the power of sounding the shofar, if you had the right intentions, was tremendously powerful. Tremendously powerful. The shofar, that was the day that the first man was created. That was the New Year's of the Jewish people. And this was like the essence of man is to change give God pleasure. That's the essence of what man is. Okay. So they all of the other Hasidim, they stayed up all night and they started praying at the first possible opportunity, and they prayed as fast as they possibly could. And they sounded the shofar, and they said the Chabad rabbi sounded first. And they asked the first Rebbe how he did it. And he said, I just woke up in the morning and I didn't pray. I just sounded the shofar first thing. Which you figure that's a pretty simple way of doing it. But in order to sound the shofar properly, there has to be preceded by the spiritual levels which are achieved through the different stages of the prayers. These prayers are according to very deep secrets of Kabbalah, and somehow the first Rebbe of Chabad was able to jump over all this, and he sounded the shofar. So he sounded the shofar first, and sure enough, that's what happened. Napoleon won, and he won, and he won, and he won, and won. And even to the point where Napoleon came to the city where the first Rebbe of Chabad was, the city of what is it, Liazne, or Liadi. Anyway, wherever the Rebbe lived, and he conquered that city in Russia. And the first thing he did was in Russia, was in Ukraine. The first thing he did was sent men to the first Rebbe's house to see if there was anything that he could get his hands on, because it was what's called sympathetic magic or something. He could put a curse, and the Rebbe was afraid of him. And he ordered that his house should be burnt down before he left and ran away from, I think, from Liadi. Before he ran away from Napoleon. Is that right? Give me a second. No. Give me a minute. Yeah, that's right. Sure. From Liadi. Before he left his house, he ordered that the house should be burnt down so that nothing would fall into Napoleon's hands. And it ended up that he was standing. They watched the destruction of Moscow, and Napoleon took over Moscow. And his son said, "What's going to be?" And the Alter Rebbe said, "I'm standing with the tefillin on. I'm telling you, he's going to lose." And he told him exactly how Napoleon was going to lose. What's the point of the story? That the sounding of the shofar, physical, a little horn, a little tiny, a little, that defeated the huge, massive, successful, powerful armies of Napoleon, with all their cannons and their horses, and then one little horn conquered the whole entire thing. So it comes to show us the power of a commandment, and especially the power of commandment if it's done with the proper intention, especially if a Rebbe does it, it actually had the power to defeat and change the whole entire course of history. Have a good day with Mashiach now.